No innings pitched. two walked batters, 1 hit batsman, 3 earned runs and if you're a math major out there, you know that is an infinity ERA. Infinity.
It's pretty good, right? Pretty good.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Back Ups.
All right, well, hey, here we are. It is episode 4?
4.
Holy cow.
We're back.
We're back
Episode 4.
2 words. 4 episodes. I'm Timo B. Davis, and I coach football, and he's...
Connor B. Feckley, and I coach football.
That's convenient, because this is a football podcast. But hey, it's a super fun episode today.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
We're talking Super Bowl. We're talking life lessons of the Super Bowl, and we got a special guest. Really, our first guest.
First guest. Kicking it off. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's gonna have a little segment. You'll meet him in a second here, but I just think this week, how can you not be nostalgic about football? It's the Super Bowl.
And it feels a little weird with it being obviously with all the COVID stuff going on and not having the huge week-long celebration leading into it. But just given the matchup in the game and what we're anticipating, I think it's already all there. I think it just needs to be Sunday already, and we're ready to roll.
Are you a fan of the weekend?
The weekend. I'm more a fan of the days that fall on the weekend than the artist.
Okay. I was making sure we were following.
I know, I got you.
Okay, I was like, yeah, I know. He's doing the halftime show.
Well, he's been showing up everywhere for the last couple months, all bloodied and bandaged and with a new face. And so it'll be entertaining. I don't know.
There we go.
We'll see.
The weekend.
Weekend's
back up. So openers, let's get right to the best thing. What's the best thing you saw this week in football or life?
Well, there was a handful of good things. It was a good week. I'm sharing 2. One's a close contender just because it made me laugh. But one of the best things I saw this week was T. Martin, former offensive coordinator at Tennessee. His son was playing in the Senior Bowl this past weekend. And the funny thing about T. Martin is he's the same age as Tom Brady. They were in the same draft.
He's a Brady 6. Together. So, I was going to say, I did my research. He's a Brady 6.
It was pretty funny just seeing him, like obviously there, celebrating with his son at the Senior Bowl, and then knowing that a guy who was drafted the same year as him is still playing and preparing for the Super Bowl. So that was pretty cool. But I think the best thing I saw this week was Arthur Blank, owner of the Atlanta Falcons, donating $17 million of his own money to the Civil Rights Museum there in Atlanta.
That's awesome.
I got a chance to walk around Atlanta only once, but just awesome city, full of obviously tons and tons of culture and history. So really cool thing there. Obviously, being able to put his money where his mouth is. Obviously, so good job there.
Being back up here in Alaska, one does not get to hot Atlanta that much.
Not very much, man.
I've been to it. It's pretty cool. I really enjoy that. Brady 6. For those of you doing bingo out there, every time we mention a Brady 6 name, we'll make sure you get a scratch off that, and we'll see
the backups.
The backup bingo board. So if you're out there right now, go get your bingo board. It's a game. It's legal. My opener was EA College Football.
Oh my goodness!
Do we have the DJ Khaled sound effect?
EA Sports.
It's in the game. I'm stoked about it. I think everybody is, right? We've been waiting for a college football game. I mean, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? The thing that I love about it was the customizability, the jerseys we had. In fact, if you go look on the West Football Facebook, we have the all-time West football team. You have to go way back, 7 years back, to the EA 2014. We actually created the West all-time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
2014 for NCAA 14. That was really cool. And I think we're excited about that. They're still saying it's like 2 to 3 years out, though.
I know, which is kind of a bummer, is that you drop this awesome news on us, and then they're just like, only 2 to 3 more years, and then we'll have it. So the hype will still be there, but...
Which I thought it was kind of...
Get it out sooner. Get it out a little sooner.
Absolutely. Well, I thought it was almost like a cop-out. They're like, hey, we're doing this game, but then they're like, by then, we'll be paying players. And I'm like, there are some things you don't really... What if those things change? Anyway, but I don't want to steal a thunder of that. It will be exciting. Unfortunately, the football video game universe has been dominated, and that's not bad. That like if you sit down and play Madden 21, I use it for coaching.
Totally, yeah.
I use it for a lot of really good things. I think there's some really fun things to do with the Madden series. But when you don't have competition, that's a life lesson.
Yeah.
It's coming up. If you don't have competition, you tend to get stagnant. And I thought, I think that's the big knock on the franchise is it's a little stagnant right now. The other good thing, opener, it was just something I had to laugh about. It was multi-sport athletes.
Yep.
We're gonna be talking Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes quite a bit. Of course, Patrick Mahomes' father, a pitcher in the bigs throughout the 90s, through I think 2 seasons for the Sox. Go Sox! But Patrick Mahomes himself, a baseball player. And came out on Twitter this week. He's talking about his one and only appearance for Texas Tech at the collegiate level. No innings pitched, two walked batters, 1 hit batsman, 3 earned runs with. And if you're a math major out there, you know that is an infinity ERA. Infinity.
It's pretty good, right? Pretty good.
I mean, Infinity is kind of a theme though this week. Infinity losses.
Infinite losses.
Infinite losses.
If you were in GameStop.
Yeah.
If you're a hedge fund or any hedge fund managers out here.
Yeah.
You could have infinite
losses.
So.
You and Patrick Mahomes might have something in common. Well, so this episode is all about lessons we can learn from the Super Bowl, lessons that we can learn. We're really talking about Brady and Mahomes quite a bit because you haven't heard enough about Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. But one of the coolest lessons, or coolest opportunities, I should say, your left tackle, right tackle?
Right tackle.
Right tackle. Jacob Britton's going to start joining us on the show every few weeks just to talk big men in the league. We got a great response from the Big Men Need Love.
Yeah, man, it was a fun show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys out there too. That's probably the most positive comments we've gotten on a show, and
totally. And I know we were obviously very excited to do it. And we were hoping to have Jake last week, and we weren't able to make it all work, and we just couldn't pass it up. I know Jake was excited to get involved. We were excited to have him. So we just give a little bit more of a update about the X's and O's from the O-line play, D-line play, but hearing it from a former lineman. Yeah,
so it's cool to get a big man on the show. So we're going to roll that now, that interview with Jake Britton, and a new segment we call Britton's Bigs.
All right, well, my name is Jake Britton. I played offensive line, actually, with Connor Feckley, the Connor Feckley at the University of Dubuque. Was fortunate enough to start 30 games there and, just love everything about offensive line play. Even though I'm not playing, I'm not coaching at this moment, it's still something I find myself just dialed in on every time I watch a football game, seeing if they, what are teams doing in protection, if there's anyone that stands out. So just still really passionate about offensive line play, and I'm excited as hell to come on here and talk about it with you guys.
Thank you. Yeah. So, hey, Jake, looking at kind of just some of the thoughts, tell us a little bit, kind of recap. We talked about bigs last week. The whole idea is that we're just focused on life lessons that we can get from the Super Bowl in some way, shape, or form this episode. Tell me a little bit about your recap of what you saw with these two O-lines and D-lines going up against each other in 1 day, 2 days, whenever this airs.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely some intriguing matchups too. The one that everyone's kind of talking about is you get this Chiefs offensive line against this really, really good Bucs defensive front. Not just their D-line, but I mean, their linebacker group is probably the best in the NFL. So you're going to get this banged up Chiefs offensive line that's playing a bunch of undrafted guys they've been picking up off the street, kind of patchwork against this great defensive front. And normally you'd look at a game like that and be like, dang, man, that's going to be a big problem. But it's so weird because I look at this Chiefs team and it's like, this is one team that it might not matter that much. Because I know you guys talked about it last week, how the Chiefs loves to get this horizontal movement, in the run game as well as the throw game. I mean, it feels like they roll out, they're running sprint out every other pass attempt. So it's, they're going to do that. That's going to help out that group a lot. And, the Chiefs are kind of known for having this high flying offense, but they're more than happy to dink and dunk the ball down the field too, and just kind of get their ball to their incredible athletes in space and let them make a play. So it's, bringing up those things. If there's one team that I'm really not concerned about their their offensive line group that's in rough shape against a great defensive line group, it's the Chiefs. I think they'll be able to, kind of hide their deficiencies in that group. And, they might get Mitchell Schwartz back at right tackle, which would be huge, but I don't know. I haven't checked the injury report or if he's been able to go or not, but I don't know. It doesn't sound like it sounds like they might not get him back. So we'll see. That would be a big get. But even if they don't, I think that they'll obviously Andy Reid and, Eric Bieniemy do a great job building the game plan. I know they're going to help them out a ton.
No, absolutely. And that's a good point. And then diving more into, the offense and defensive lines, what are some of the matchups that you're most looking forward to watching here coming up in the big game?
Yeah, actually, if I kind of flip over and chat about the Bucs offensive line, that's a group that's contrast to the Chiefs. They're very good. That is a very good unit. That's a strong unit with a lot of good players on it. So, one thing I'm really going to be dialed in on is really just Tristan Wirfs. He's been one of my favorite players to watch. He's been a great player out of Iowa. In my opinion, maybe the best right tackle in the NFL already. I thought he had that kind of a year. He was very, very good.
I know you've been a strong advocate on Twitter for him, saying he deserves Rookie of the Year and everything.
Dude, he's been incredible. I mean, if you just watch him too, he's so sound technically, and he's got his hands are so heavy. Like he's so fast with them, but he's so heavy with them when he punches in pass protection. He's just a really fun player to watch, and it's like I said, I mean, I think he's been the best rookie in the class. And I mean, he very well might, he's among the best right tackles in the league. And it's so funny because he's one of those guys too, that got knocked a little bit for maybe being just like a tad undersized, I think he was like a tad under 6'4". And, if you're going to the NFL, draft guys look at it and say, well, is he big enough to play tackle? Well, can he play? Yeah, obviously the guy can play, and he's been a great draft pick for the Bucs.
What I really like about him is the backside on inside zone, because there's such a vertical team. We talked about that last week, and that vertical push they get. Man, if you have a liability on the backside, your vertical game is just you're not going to have the cutbacks. It's just not going to be as good. Can you talk a little bit about the interior of that Bucs line as well? What you really like out of that?
Yeah, no, and this is kind of just another matchup I'm really going to be keeping my eyes on is Ryan Jensen. I mean, he makes the whole thing go. I mean, he's really the leader of that group and really the vocal leader of that group too. And he's going to be going up against one of, if not the best interior defensive lineman in the league. And Chris Jones, I know we were talking about a little bit earlier, is, Chris Jones, he's kind of a guy that turns it on and turns it off. He's kind of, up and down with his effort level. But I mean, when he's playing, and you're going to assume he's going to play hard in the Super Bowl, when he's playing hard, he might be the best interior D lineman in the league too. And they're both you can tell they both like to jaw, and they're both nasty.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be really fun to watch too. We'll see the Bucs too. They lost their right guard. I think Alex Kappa earlier in the playoffs, which was obviously hurts them a little bit, but they've got such a strong group that, they've done a really good job throughout the postseason so far. And I don't expect them to stop against the Chiefs front that's good, but not, they're kind of middle of the pack in terms of both run game and pass rushing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that the Chiefs really, if I were to look at both D lines, I see a Chiefs D line that's good, but relies on the linebacker play, Tyrann Mathieu coming down into the box to really create pressures on Brady, which is what I think they're going to do. I think Spagnuolo is going to cook up at just the right time. He's going to send just the right blitzes, but they have to do that. Whereas what we saw against Green Bay, that Tampa D line, just those front four, Sue, JPP, all those guys, they just Shaq Barrett, they're going to bring it, and at any play, they're going to put pressure on Mahomes, and we'll see if how much that matters, like you said.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's something I wanted to touch on too, was you don't assume that the Bucs are going to blitz Patrick Mahomes, because that seems like a foolish thing to do, but they're really going to try to rely on that front four to get pressure. Whereas I think the Chiefs, like you said, they're going to try to heat him up, because you look at Tom Brady, the games he struggled this year are the games where he's been under constant pressure. So if the Chiefs I don't think they're going to be afraid to blitz either. Obviously you see Coach Spags, he does a ton. He's dialing up. He's all over the place. So, it's going to be fun to watch those D coordinators go at it, because they're both so creative in their pressures. But yeah, like you said, we're going to see if they can generate pressure on Tom Brady. We'll see what happens. But when Brady's been pressured this year, he's struggled quite a bit.
Hey, so kind of pivoting a little bit, we're talking scheme a lot, but through scheme, through all this personnel stuff, there's a lot of life lessons to dig out of these two lines. What are some things that you've picked up on, Britt?
Yeah, we kind of talk about just life lessons for the offensive line play in general through, youth all the way through the NFL. So I think the biggest thing you can take away from being an offensive lineman forever is being humble and having accountability. I think those kind of go hand in hand a little bit, because as obviously as an offensive lineman, you don't have the spotlight on you ever unless you mess up. That's the only time that people know who you are. And there, in my experiences, not to, toot our own horns, but the offensive linemen, we're always working the hardest in practice, putting in time in the film room. Maybe that's just the guys that I played for and worked for had us doing, but that's just how I feel that group needs to function. And I feel like, you do all that work, but you never get any spotlight. It really teaches you, how to be humble. And then accountability ties into that, because it's, it's similar to, if you mess up a block or you miss a blitz pickup, put it on yourself. You got to be able to say, hey, no, like I messed that up. You got to be able to, put your ego aside, say, hey, I messed that up to the room. Tell the guys, I will fix it next time, And one thing that's
ownership there.
What'd you say?
A little extreme ownership there, a little bit of Jacob.
Yeah, that's obviously, playing for the coach I played for in college, that's been drilled in my brain for years.
Absolutely.
But, one thing I touched on as well is it's always, if you play a game and the defense gives up 42 points, you could say it's easy to sit back and say, oh, the defense lost us the game. We scored 38. We should have won. Well, it's like, no, dude, go score 43 points and win the game. Like there was times in that game where you messed up too. Take accountability for those. There's a drive you didn't finish. Go score another touchdown. If you score a touchdown that drive, you win the game. Who knows?
I was going to ask you a question here to kind of wrap things up, and I just want to get a little piece. I know I kind of shared some stories last week about my experience getting a chance to play quarterback and what I went the time I had with all the big boys and everything. I was just curious if you had anything you wanted to add on to that, or a little something you wanted to share. Just some of your favorite memories of playing in the old line room.
Oh man, it's funny because you always hear like the old retired NFL guys. They'll all say this too. It's not on the field what you missed. It's everything else.
Yep.
I just miss being, we were always the first ones in the locker room an hour and a half before practice. We were sitting in there throwing a lacrosse ball around. Yep. We were always the first one to meals. We would, I know Feck touched on this last week, how we'd all sit in the back of the bus and get our own spot. But when we pulled up to the cafe, we would all get up and just sprint to the front before everyone else could stand up. But it's just all that stuff you miss, just the camaraderie with the guys. It's, Feck coming back and bringing us snacks. I will say Feck was the best snack quarterback that I had the privilege to block for. I think Briscoe might have threatened you, but I don't know. Unfortunately, he had his season cut short, but I think he would have done a good job too. But
good.
Oh yeah, no, it's just all that stuff you miss. Sitting in the meeting room before meetings. Even our meeting room was fun. I know Feck talked about we'd be in there for a long time, but I mean, it almost feels like 25% of the time we were just BSing around because, it was big in our room to, meetings aren't always fun. So let's make them as fun as we possibly can. And it's just all that kind of stuff that you miss. And, I think everyone says this and agrees with this too. That's just the tightest position group on the team. So when that group is kind of gelling and having fun, then the whole team can gel and have some fun.
Absolutely, man. And then the last one I'm going to ask is, do you have a favorite moment from when you were playing? The one that like just sticks in your memory and that you'll remember forever, and you can't wait to tell your kids someday.
You know what? I'm going to say senior year beating Simpson, because unfortunately that was essentially a conference semifinal game with the way the standings were all set up for how the season went. Unfortunately, we didn't win the next week to win the conference, but that game, that was so much fun. It was in the rain. It was like 35 degrees, windy. I mean, we had to go in there and it was one of those games that you see on TV. You got to run the ball. We're playing against they had a really, really good defensive front. They run that 3-3-5 kind of with that safety that floats around. So it kind of gave us some problems in the run game. But, going in there, beating them, I think the final was like 17-9 or something like that.
Something crazy. Just
an ugly game. We had, ran the ball well. It was just fun to set up an opportunity to win the conference. And unfortunately, we didn't get it done. But, that's a game that's always going to stick with me. Probably the most fun I had playing in a football game.
Right on, man. Absolutely.
Right on, brother. Well, I'm excited to have you back. I think the next thing we're gonna be looking at is some of these guys. You know, there's no combine, and so we had the Senior Bowl last week. We have pro days coming up, and I'm definitely gonna be picking your brain on who you like coming out as these blue chippers on the front.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'll be fun. I've already got some thoughts.
And I was going to say,
I'll save them for later.
And I was going to say, I know we got a chance to watch the guy at Whitewater, so I'm excited to kind of ask you some more questions about him and your expectations for him, kind of leading into the draft and everything, especially with no combine. So,
oh yeah, that'll be tough. It'll be tough. For the evaluation will be. I mean, really, you're gonna have the Senior Bowl and game film. I don't even know if they're gonna allow private workouts or not.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting for sure.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us, man. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to coming back on.
Appreciate you, Jake. Make sure that coffee pot is off.
No, don't you worry. I will. I'll make sure there's coffee filters too. Plenty of them.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
All right, well, welcome back, and I hope you guys enjoyed the little interview there from with Jake. Like I said, you could tell he was a little bit excited to get involved and get going, and as were we. So hopefully you guys were able to take something away from that, and we're excited to get him back. We're getting him back on the show here and kind of get him involved once we start ramping up with the draft and moving forward.
I think we spent actually after the interview, we probably spent 25 minutes just talking the backside of Inside Zone.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And we got pretty nerdy on it, and we absolutely want to bring that type of perspective to the show, but in a way that is not just
all X's and O's.
All X's and O's. We want to be a little bit beyond that, and we'll talk more about that in today's episode. But today's episode is all about Super Bowl live. Love? Ov? LV? What number is that? That's 55? 55.
I think that's the year it's supposed to be.
We're 55? It's going to be
Super Bowl
really
55.
dumb if we're not in Super Bowl 55 right now. Roman numerals. I learned Roman numerals because of the Super Bowl. I would have never have known them.
I can't think of another time where I still use them aside from when I'm writing out once a year on a piece of paper something that has to do with Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So it's good to know.
It is.
Super Bowl's important.
Your mom, whenever we go over to
Patricia,
whenever we see Patricia, she always has a set of football cards. And they're pro set from 1991.
All packaged, all the old packaged in there. You opened up, you get 10 cards or something.
And every now and then that so I collected all those when I was a kid. But so it's super nostalgia when I get an opportunity to get one of those. But in every other pack there is a Super Bowl card.
Yep.
And so that was how I taught myself Roman numerals. Lesson number one from Super Bowl is learning Roman numerals. But Super Bowl love. How crazy is it? Mahomes was in kindergarten.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. This guy's been learning from him forever. You know, so it's just gonna be kind of cool to see how he responds in the way that he acts. Because Patrick obviously does everything really well, but what I love about him is he always stays true to himself and he does things his way. So it'll be kind of neat to see how they kind of do that and how it unfolds on Sunday.
Thinking about these two, I thought a lot about. I like art. I teach media at West, and I really like cinema and movies and stuff. And so I started thinking in terms of art and these guys as artists, if you will.
Totally.
And I think one of the biggest thing about being an artist is you have to learn the rules. You have to learn the rules of composition. For cinematography, it'd be the rules of camera movement, of lighting. There's these rules you have to learn. But I think what separates a true artist from maybe a copycat is somebody that breaks the rules in creative, unique, and meaningful ways. And so when I think of both these guys, they were rule breakers in different ways. We made a joke about the Brady Six.
Yep.
Pause now to mention Chad Pennington. If you have Chad Pennington on your Brady Six bingo card, you are two Brady Sixes away from a bingo.
From a bingo.
It's a bingo.
That's all you get.
Anyway, sorry. But no, Brady comes in, not highly drafted, so he breaks that mold.
Yeah.
We've all seen the combine photo.
Yeah.
I mean,
they love showing that every year.
It's great, right? And here we are, 21 years later, watching this happen. And so I think when you think of art, Brady has broken the mold, the way that he's taking care of his body, the way that he studies the game. He's a master artist that broke some of the stereotypical quarterback boundaries. And now he's become what people achieve to be. Anyway, but that was one thing, was this idea of an artist. And Patrick Mahomes is another type of artist. And here's where I want to talk about the rules, mastering the rules.
Yeah.
There are certain non-negotiables, and you hear this from like the R4 crew.
Oh yeah, all the time.
But there are certain non-negotiables that you have to have when you throw a ball. My biggest thing that I boil it down to, and that I can figure, is core turn and repeatability of movement. So yeah, if you're running to your left and you jump to your left, but you have to throw the ball to your right. If you've practiced that, if you can recruit the core in a way that produces a repeatable delivery of that football, man, you're an artist that's creating new rules. Don't throw across your body, kids. That's what you've heard your whole life watching every football game.
Yep.
And there is a wisdom in that because it's not practiced.
Yep. Oh yeah, totally.
So we talk about this all the time, and we'll have to do an episode on quarterback mechanics.
Yeah.
But the best quarterback mechanic video that I can show is Derek Jeter going to the hole.
Derek Jeter's jump.
And he jumps and does a jump throw. If you just type in Derek Jeter jump throw,
probably the first thing that'll pop up.
First thing, and then just watch that in slow motion and imagine that he's throwing a football and imagine that a ground is there. Now, does anybody tell you, like, in the bigs, maybe you practice that, but as a little kid growing up, you do that stuff on your own because it's fun.
Yeah.
And so Patrick, here he is. He's an artist. The rule is, the rule, if you will, was don't throw across your body. But here he is. His rule has become manage your core turn, keep the internal rotation nice and tight.
Absolutely.
So, and the external rotation not getting... Now, he does got a whip.
He does.
He does have that whip motion.
He's got a whip.
And he changes his arm angle
all the time
to make these throws. He's practiced it.
Yep.
It's a repeatable thing. So to me,
well said.
He's an artist of what he does. And I think that what's the lesson we can learn from that? We should find being artists in whatever we do. Let's learn our rules, master your rules. And when you choose to break a rule, make sure that rule is done in a meaningful, intentional way, not just something willy-nilly.
Yeah, no, that's well said. Kind of just going over to another lesson, and as we were kind of talking about just things we can take away, and I think one of the biggest things, clearly, obviously, is just the discipline from Brady, and I mean that in like all sense of the word, on the field, off the field. I mean, I often think like, how is this guy able to like have a life as like a 45-year-old, like be a dad, do all these other things, like have a supermodel wife that travels the world. I mean, the guy's got to be pretty busy, but yet he's able to like keep his body in shape, keep his mind in shape, do what needs to be done, and get himself back to the big Super Bowl. And so I think just that discipline factor of, obviously, he's always the first one in the building, last one to leave. You hear all those things, that's there, but it's all those things that are done away from the football field, out of sight of everybody. And it's always, people always say, what are you doing when no one's watching? What's going on? It's like, I think Brady's able to kind of point to that by being like, I'm 45 years old. My body is still better than half the guys, like I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just pretty dang cool. Just the type of dedication that he has, but just the discipline and the accountability that he has for himself and for his teammates and for what his mission is. He has a goal. He knows all the rules.
Brett Strom, the pitching coach for the Astros, comes up here quite frequently to Alaska and runs a camp, and I've got a chance to talk to him a couple of times. He's actually the one who got me onto that Jeter video.
Okay, yeah.
He's,
okay,
he's like,
saying this.
He's like this, and he was talking about it from a pitching perspective. Anyway, But the thing that I really liked about Stromy and what you just said was, you talking about discipline when no one's watching. Strom's like, you are what you are who you are in the dark. Like what you're doing in the dark, that's who you are. When no one's watching, that's who you are.
And that can be kind of scary.
That can be way scary, And so you think about it, when you break it down, we are who we are making these decisions and doing these actions. We all talk big game, and I'm right there. I've done a ton of hypocritical things as a head coach. And anybody who doesn't admit to that, it's not human.
Yeah.
But I think that we have a responsibility as whatever we are, whether we're a football player or coach or something totally different. Yep. We have a responsibility of maintaining who we are when no one's looking at us. That's a great point.
And speaking of maintaining who we are when no one's looking, I just wanted to point out, I don't know if you got a chance to see that, what Gronk mentioned during his little media day about how the coaches wanted him to send in a video of him working out every day.
Yes,
and so instead of sending a video different every day, he just changed clothes and sent them all videos in the same day. So that seemed very Gronk-like, you know what I mean? So give and take with what you do. I mean, he was doing what was asked of him, but he said he knows the rules and he knows how to bend them. And you can tell, though, he looks like he's about half a step slower than, in years past and everything, And so, hey, maybe you spend a little bit more time in the off season with Tom instead of at the beach in Miami or something.
Gronk is a Gronk artist.
It's his own Gronk artist.
He's a Gronk artist.
Own section.
His own thing.
Gronk artistry.
Hashtag it. Another lesson, and I've experienced this in my own life, and a championship is not the end of a process. So I've been fortunate enough that throughout my life, I've been on a few state championship teams. And the teams that we've been part of have always been really cool. But I'll never forget having the first state championship at West in 2010. Coach Garcia, our defensive coordinator, and myself were sitting there in the locker room the day after. We're sitting there looking around the locker room, and we're like, that's it, huh? And I think in that moment, both of us, Coach Garcia and myself, identified that we were very dedicated in our lives, in our habits, towards an outcome, towards a result. And I saw this again. I ran a marathon. I've actually run a few, and I had to run. I'll tell you what. After I ran the first one, and this has happened a few times now, I stopped running for a few months.
Oh yeah, you go I've seen you do it. You go train. You'll train. I think you're insane, and then you run it, and then it's like I won't see you run again for months.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, you're signed up for another marathon or something. So,
and I think it's for me. I probably need that goal, but just thinking out loud here, it's almost like finishing that marathon is kind of like a championship, and that's cool and that's good. And winning the Super Bowl is probably pretty cool and pretty good. And winning a state championship at any level in any sport is cool and it's good. But man, it's so empty if it's not enjoyed as part of the process along the way. Totally. It's just a step, and I think that Tom, if there's one person that typifies that, everybody in the world could say, why is Tom Brady playing football? There you go right there.
Because I think it makes sense to a lot of other people. You can easily look at Tom and go, why is he still playing football?
Well, and you could draw this line between a bunch of guys. Yeah. It's easier to think about an older quarterback who's never won won a couple times. I can see Breeze, he wanted to get another one, and you can make those arguments. But with Brady, he's won a ton. He's validated himself.
What else does he? Yeah, exactly.
But what he's doing is he's teaching us all that a championship, an outcome. I'm using the word championship, but in our life lessons, it could be it could be whatever goal, a marathon, a new job. You're when you achieve a goal, and if the goal is what brings you the joy, as soon as the goal is done, your potential for joy goes away. So I really believe that it's that process that I find way more joy in recording podcasts, in doing whatever I'm doing now. And I've really worked on this. This has been something I've thought a lot about.
No, it's well said. Like you said, and I know I saw the quote after the games that people were saying, Brady yelling at his teammates, quit effing crying, we ain't done yet, and everyone's kind of just like, all right, here we go, you got one more to finish. And like I said, that just speaks to his mentality and where he's at and how serious, like I said, the goal he's trying to achieve and what he's trying to get done.
No, I think that's huge. And then my last lesson that I've picked up from these guys is that, you have to prepare. And they say luck is the result of preparation. That's a Coach Iverson. I'm sure someone else said it, but Coach Iverson said it all the time.
Yeah, Coach Iverson was good at that. Yep.
You put that in my brain. But both these guys are lucky in their own ways. Specifically with Brady,
if Drew Bledsoe never gets hurt and gets pulled out of that game,
there you go.
Who is Tom Brady?
Who's Tom? If the Seahawks give the ball to Marshawn Lynch, now they're going to be back. I know, Seahawks fan. Brady would have been back after that, but I mean that's.
What if the Patriots never had a good defense?
The defense is the big one.
What if they never had a kicker?
Yeah, Yeah. Boy, and
That's
so
all those little things. Yeah.
we're Tony Franklin clients at West, and one of he's been doing a new thing this year. He's like doing these like 10-minute talks, and he sends them out. No clinic or anything, and so. But one of his talks, he talks about the luck. You have to have a little bit of luck. Now, I think that this luck
Better
is
to be
from
lucky than good.
Yeah, at times.
My dad always said, yeah.
I think this is really big. And so Tom Brady's really lucky in a sense. He put them in a position to beat the Seahawks so that something crazy could happen.
Yep.
Something crazy did happen, but if he had not done his preparation, that moment never happens.
Yeah,
with
point.
Mahomes, I see it as him being with the Chiefs with Andy Reid. But if he doesn't go with Andy Reid, think about, we talked about the horizontal movement. We just talked about it with Britton. Mahomes makes that offense work. That offense is really designed around a guy with his talents.
Totally.
That is progressive coaching. That's progressive teaching to build on the strengths of your
what you
athletes,
have there.
of what you have. And so he's lucky for that because he could have been drafted by not that.
He could be a Jet. He could have worked with Gase for the last. Sorry, too soon. Ooh. that should be the Gase.
The eyes, the Gase stare. What else? You got any more?
Last thing I wanted to point out, which I always thought was really cool, and obviously, unfortunately, having the year passing of Kobe Bryant, I think one of the coolest thing that I think Tom gets docked for a lot, and kind of gets people kind of give him crap for it, is the way he interacts and does things with his kids. I think it's like the coolest thing to see a dad who is at like the absolute pinnacle of the most popular sport in the world, and there's probably not a lot of people in this world who don't know who he is. And the fact that he always just seems like his dad, being a dad is the number one thing, or a son even. He talks about his family and he talks about his kids. And, after the Packers game, he's calling his son down to give him a hug. And it's just all those types of things where, and LeBron James is another great example of guys who just, above all else, they're showing that, hey, being a father, being, putting your family first, doing all those things is most important.
Yeah.
And then comes everything else. And which I think, hey, if you have that platform and you can do that and you're not sitting there preaching it, he's not just sitting there talking about how great he treats his kids. He really talks about them unless he's sharing his own experience and things moving forward. So that's just something that I find super cool getting a little bit older myself and getting to that age where all my friends are starting to have kids and everything. So it's just something to think about and something to appreciate.
How about him throwing with Drew Brees' kids?
Yeah, I mean, look at it, just stuff like that. Just cool stuff.
You gotta love that. That is pretty cool. Well, those are lessons from Super Bowl. Ooh.
Love.
I'm excited for it Sunday. Again, just one last thing on this. It's super. There's such a nostalgic feeling. I'm not going to be watching the game necessarily to analyze it, to break it down.
Totally, yeah.
It's been
Super
a long
Bowl's an event,
year.
man. It's like a holiday. Like you said, you got to enjoy the day.
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Not a 4-down question, but best Super Bowl halftime that you lived through. Memorable, maybe.
Man. Justin Timberlake was pretty entertaining. Lady Gaga swinging in from the roof that's about all I remember from that show. Actually, never mind.
Blasphemous. Gaga's performance #1.
Yeah, I mean,
Left Shark. Left Shark was pretty good. Was it Right Shark? Katy Perry had the shark.
Oh yeah, the shark. Katy Perry.
Left Shark.
I'm trying to think who else was even in these things.
Shark.
I'm so excited about the game usually, where I just get halftime over with.
Do you know who Up With People is? Promise me tonight to Google Up With People. And we're going to talk about it next week.
All right. Up With People.
If you know, you know. Okay.
There's probably one other person out there, and it's probably Coach Garcia.
Oh, no. Well, Garcia definitely knows. Coach Carroll will know. 4-down territory.
4-down territory.
I'm coming at you with first down.
All right. What do you got?
Be real. As a 10th grader, you had a really good season. Came in, you threw some touchdowns, some interceptions. 4 of those interceptions happened to be in the championship game. 4?
In the first half of the state championship
First
game.
half of the state championship game.
5 total.
5 total.
In the W.
What is going through your mind at halftime of that game?
Man, well, having I was like one of only 4, 5. Oh, we maybe brought up some more guys. 4 sophomores, I think, that were on that varsity team. And And there was already times that year where we had been in situations close at halftime where it was senior heavy, and seniors they knew how good we were and they wanted to win, and they didn't expect some short, chubby, never played quarterback before guy to be there, leading them to a state championship. Am I gonna be able to make it out of this locker room alive? Thankfully it was 0-0, with 4 interceptions.
Lucky.
I was lucky.
Good.
I was better to be lucky than good. So my biggest concern at that point was that, am I going to make it out of here alive? And I think once I got back out on the field, it was, all right, I got to do something positive here. And then I'm pretty sure I came back out and threw one more interception, right away. And then we turned it on in the final minute.
Yeah.
That just brought back so many weird memories when you asked me that. Like, so much stuff ran through my head right then.
Okay. Best Britton story.
Best
PG.
Best PG Britton story.
PG Britton story.
It definitely limits a couple. Probably one of my favorite Jake memories was just here. Actually, it was hearing him on the field, because he's usually a pretty quiet guy when he'd be on the field in the middle of a play or something. But occasionally something would happen and he would always yell something. And I remember one time he yelled something like, "Watch out, Feck," or something like that. In practice he had missed a block or something. I think we went back and we're watching it in film. I think he was getting chewed out. And he was, hey, don't worry. I gave Feck a heads up, and so it was just one of those things where
I gave him a heads up.
But, and we were joking, and he knew it. He corrected himself and got better. But it was just one of those things where you can enjoy the film room and kind of get a good laugh about it. But he was a fun guy to play with, so that was just one of those memories.
You're a multi-sport athlete. What do you have more confidence in? Your Chell game or FIFA?
Man. Probably FIFA. Usually the guys I play with are not good FIFA players. So I feel pretty good about FIFA until I play a soccer player or someone who's really good and then they embarrass me. Right. So I could probably hang a little better in Chell. But I'd take my, if I had to put money on it, I'd probably play for some FIFA money.
Okay.
Play for a little FIFA money.
All right. Last question. Fourth down. Tom Brady has a book. TB12, how to do TB12 lifestyle, right? It's like a fitness book. It's like his lifestyle book. What is the name of the Connor Feckley fitness book yet to be written?
Oh, God. It'd be like one of those things where you open it up and there's just no words. It's just a book with a bunch of empty pages, because there wouldn't be a whole lot of proper advice. Or it'd be a copy and paste of everything that Tom had in his.
With your face photoshopped.
My title, TB12, How Not to Get Feckin' Fat.
I like that. Not feckin' fat. That's solid.
Good job. About as good as I come up with.
That's a conversion.
I'd have to incorporate that somehow, I
don't know what the down distance was, or I don't know what the distance was, but I think that's a conversion.
I'll take it. Let's say it was
first down.
4th and inches.
There we go. Got it.
All right, here we go.
Feckin' fat. I love it.
Feckin' fat. First question for you. And this is kind of like this will be a good one. So, best lesson you learned as a little kid. It's like a little Davis memory that's maybe held on forever.
Told my kids this story multiple times, students and children.
Okay, here we go.
Right to it. So, and it's art related.
Ties right in. Full circle.
Thanksgiving season. And there are...
It's a season for it.
It's kindergarten. And in fact, one of my colleagues I work with now is in my kindergarten class.
Wow.
His name is Kelsey Romig. Someone goes
Romig,
out
what's
for
up?
you. And I think I've told Romig this story, so I think he's aware of it. But if not, you should be listening. We get these, remember mimeograph machines? They're it was pre-copier. I don't know if you were, they were purple kind of.
I remember what they were, but I don't even know if I ever even had to use
Smelled
it.
really bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got one of those, and we had to color in these pumpkins. There were 6 pumpkins. They were just basically 6 in boxes. And I don't know why they're doing it. It's a really repetitive exercise. But once you got done with your 6 pumpkins, almost like flashcard style, I think you got to cut them. I don't remember that part. But once you got done coloring your pumpkins, there were some Star Wars toys. Miss Wilson had these Star Wars toys, not just any Star Wars toys. She had the AT-AT Walker. She had these are the original ones. This is 1988, 89, and this is serious business playing with these Star Wars toys. And so once you get done, you get to play these Star Wars toys. I get 4 pumpkins done. I am following the rules. I probably had that thing shaded just right. There was probably depth and beauty in 4 of those pumpkins.
I'm picturing,
And then I look over, and they're playing with them Star Wars toys. And I went, scribble, scribble. And I take it to the teacher and I'm like, I'm done. And there's 4 magnificent Picasso mother trucking pumpkins on this piece of paper. And I slide it to the teacher and she slides it back and says, no, little Timmy, that's not your best effort. You need to. And she didn't say
Little Timmy.
Yeah, she probably did. I was worried about, but she probably didn't say all the things. But like, be persistent. Never quit. Don't cut corners. When you break rules that have meaning. All these things like come to my mind now.
It's totally
as an
funny.
adult.
Like you said, yes.
And so I had to go back to I wasn't a crier a ton in school, but if something hit me, it would get
If
to
you were
me.
taking his Star Wars story, I think you may still cry now if that were to happen.
Actually,
It'd be a pretty big deal.
just the rejection of it, to walk up to the teacher and that walk of shame back to your desk. One little girl helped me because I was like kind of distraught over this. Anyway, I got them finished up and I turned it in. I'll never forget that, and I'll never forget like being 4 out of 6 pumpkins away from the Star Wars toys and going scribble, scribble. And so like now I don't know if this is healthy, but now I've almost become like OCD. Like making like the PowerPoints
totally.
in here. I'm like, I'm gonna make sure this is exactly inside the
perfect,
lines and
yeah.
perfect. And so
Perfect
that
pumpkin.
is definitely that lesson I'll never forget. I'm probably gonna make a rocket boosters. It's my vlog. I'll probably make a rocket boosters
You should.
on that.
Smart.
Maybe that's the next episode.
And I was
see.
gonna say, it's funny you say that because I think about that even at my age now. So many things, and obviously being a sub back in my old high school, like I see things with the younger students all the time where I just want to be like, hey, you might not get it yet, but in a couple of years, and not 50 years, like in a couple of years, this is gonna make a lot more sense to you. So, totally. What's the biggest lesson you learned the hard way?
I went to junior prom as a sophomore.
Ooh,
Yeah,
cool guy.
cool guy.
All right.
So I went to Alyeska, and that morning, and it was like a gorgeous spring day. But I was pretty early on in my snowboarding career. Was not very good. I was not very good, and I hit a rock, knocked out, unconscious,
Ow.
out. I went off a jump. It's called gun mount. You launch off a
It sounds like you'll launch
off a gun mount. I don't know
Yeah.
how else to put it. And knocked out. The ski patrol had to come get me. And they didn't. I didn't want to go on the sled. I refused the sled. I was gonna make it. And I remember the TBI right here. Like I remember falling asleep snowboarding. So I get back to the car.
It's pretty scary. Yeah.
Boom. Okay. I go to senior prom, my senior year. One says, maybe don't go snowboarding this morning. I go off. The south face has a lip. I do a little trick in the air, do a little spin. And as I landed, my face came and hit my knee. And I knocked my teeth in and I split my chin open. It's bleeding everywhere. So I went to prom with a giant bandage. I might be mixing up junior senior prom, by the way. So sorry for
Your dates are not going to appreciate that.
I know. Sorry, ladies. That came out weird. Sorry, ladies.
More than one date. Okay, I got you.
But no. So one prom I went with a complete concussion. Don't really remember. And the other prom I went with stitches in my chin. Still can't really grow facial hair right in that exact spot. It's kind of like right down there, little naked spot that I try to
That makes
clean up.
sense.
So there you go. Hard way.
All right, third down. Being a history teacher,
Yep.
which historical figure
Oh no.
has taught you the most and have you carried over to life? And then is it one that you enjoy to teach to your students?
Oh yeah, totally. Marcus
right.
Aurelius.
All right, I feel like you get excited about
the Stoic
this.
philosopher, the Stoic
Side note,
emperor.
is that book? I'm pretty sure is sitting in there by your toilet. Is
Marcus
that your-
Aurelius's journal is next to my toilet. It's my toilet meditations.
There you, I was going to ask you that. I saw it in there earlier, but now I know.
The name of the book is Meditations. I mentioned him on the show earlier, but Brian Hamilton, Texas State tight ends coach. He's the one who kind of got me like actually to read it. Like I'd always known as a history teacher, like there's this dude Marcus Aurelius out there, and he was considered one of the last good emperors of the Roman Empire. But what I love about Marcus Aurelius is he's so, and I'm not a Stoic. I'm way too emotional. I do not always take cold showers, and I don't sleep on the floor unless unless the wife's mad at me. But
Cold showers too.
yeah, but I'm not a cold, but I'm not a stoic. But I will say this: I love the concepts of being locked into the moment, of being the most pragmatic. They call it the practical philosophy because it gives you like this idea of like, all right, a negative outcome has befallen you. It's happened to you.
Yep.
Your response is what's going to determine the outcome out of this. And so, man, Marcus Aurelius, 100% locked down. Favorite guy to teach. Would love to have a chit chat someday.
Hopefully we can make that chit chat happen.
Yeah,
someday.
we'll give him a call.
Bring him on the pod.
We'll bring him on the pod.
All right, perfect. And then 4th down, last one here.
Go for it.
So I'm just going to continue this lesson train and finish it out with this. What lesson maybe would you give someone that's in the same situation that you are right now, whether it be like an educator, a dad, a football coach? Just what little lesson would you give out to someone in your situation?
Good follow-up, because just like Marcus, when you own what you've done and there's no losses and there's only lessons, then you can take another step forward. And some days are so bad and so hard that just take the next step forward. There was in fact just today there was a little drama at work, and all I could hear was no BCD. I could hear like it from the podcast I listened to. BCD, no blame, complain, defend. Specifically, don't complain. And there's one podcast that says something, just don't complain. And a guy goes, well, what do you do other than complain? Anything else. Like, do anything else. And man, that was I need to hear that every day.
Yeah.
Every day I need to hear that.
You need to hear it.
So maybe the biggest lesson, don't complain about your kids to your coworkers. Don't complain about your wife to your coaches. Don't complain about a team to your wife, because everybody else is going to question, why are you doing that? Don't complain about if you have a girlfriend, don't complain about your girlfriend, because then your buddies are going to look at your girlfriend and be like, oh, she's
exactly.
a mess.
Yeah, well
don't
said.
complain about your kids, because again, you just do anything other than complain. Now there's issues that arise, and sometimes you need to bounce thoughtful observations off people. But be careful. Don't let that become a bitch sesh.
Yeah, well said.
I mean, really. So don't complain. Don't complain. There it is. No BCD.
No BCD.
Boom.
And that was awesome.
So
that was converted. 2 4th down conversions today.
Yeah.
2 4th down conversions.
Hey, which is what Tom Brady's really, 3rd down is kind of what he's been really good at, right?
Yeah.
Was he 7 in a row with Green Bay?
Yeah. Okay,
right
gotcha.
off the top of the game?
Yeah.
So we saved the get back up for the last, and it kind of ties into what we've been talking about. We've had a lot of cool dudes that probably don't realize it, but this is the best trophy they've ever won. And we need to get these guys a trophy. They certainly all deserve it. But this is kind of a promo for tomorrow or Monday. We're releasing a special episode on Monday. And that's with a coach that's on our staff, Coach Brian Mercereau. And he's going to get our Get Back Up award, because he's pretty honest about it. He's going to go through his process of redemption and recovery from alcohol abuse, and now being 5 years sober. Brian has a great story to tell on Monday morning. Check it out. We're going to run that interview because his story is all about getting back up.
I'm just one person in Alaska, in Anchorage. I know I'm not the only one who was going through this or is still on a journey of it, but there's so many more people out there that just need to know, like, oh man, Brian Mercereau, Anchorage, Alaska, that's who I am in small town USA. Yeah. Wow, I'm glad he came. That's all I want. I just want one person to be like, man, I listened to the back ups and that helped me. And that's the mission, right?
Yep.
That's it.
All right. Well, hey, another good show. I'm excited. We'll be back on Monday to have a quick little show there. Check it out. It'll be good. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Who you got?
Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Let's say it on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Bucks.
Chiefs. Okay, there it is.
I just can't go against Tom. I can't go against Tom.
I love it. No, it's gonna be good. I think a bunch of things can go one way or the other. Some things out of the control of players.
Yeah.
I think if everything's 100% in control of the athletes, I think the Chiefs win. But
Yeah.
there are some very, very small things,
Little tiny things that can change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, we're the backups. I'm Timbo B. Davis, and I coach football. He's,
Connor B. Feckley, and I coach football.
and that's convenient. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.